Today we're holding up the magnifying glass to take a closer look at the incredible graphics in Astal on the Sega Saturn. If you ever thought the 1990s were all about clunky 3D games with pixelated texture-mapped graphics, Astal is here to prove you wrong. This game isn't just a platformer, it's a masterpiece of 2D artistry that took full advantage of the Saturn's hardware to create a fantasy world so real that you can almost touch it. In fact, I'm calling it right now. Astal is the most beautiful 2D game of the 90s, and today we're going to find out why. With just one look, it's immediately clear that Astal boasts a stunning visual style. The art direction throughout gives the game a distinct, whimsical fantasy vibe. The characters are meticulously hand-drawn and rendered with smooth animation and an almost crystalline, otherworldly quality to them. And while there's no clear indication that the designs were influenced by mind-bending effects of magic mushrooms, I wouldn't be too shocked if that turned out to be true, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Now before we dive into it, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is always here for a quick retro gaming break whenever you need it. I appreciate your support since it's the only way that YouTube will highlight my videos. Compared to Nights into Dreams, another Saturn classic known for its 3D dream worlds, Astal takes a different route. It pours all of the energy of the Saturn into a pure 2D experience par excellence, creating a richly colored world with a fairy tale atmosphere that just screams handcrafted with love throughout. Astal himself is a powerful and courageous warrior in a generic and somewhat forgettable story to save his ward, Liba, who he's sworn to protect, who's been captured by the evil one known as Geist. Astal's might gives him the ability to seize enemies and slam them to the ground. He's also capable of lifting and throwing massive, heavy objects like boulders and trees. He also calls upon his bird ally, who helps defeat enemies or gathers fruit for his healing. Additionally, Astal can take a deep breath that causes his chest to expand and then blasts his foes with his exhale force. In fact, owing to the absence of a Sonic title on the platform when this was released, Astal could have become the Saturn's mascot character, since it was a Saturn exclusive. And while it had some pretty interesting ideas and great visuals, it's unfortunate that Sega never had a chance to expand this franchise with a direct sequel. The dreamlike graphics style is complemented by an equally mesmerizing soundtrack composed and orchestrated by Tatsuyuki Maeda. This element of the game deserves all the praise it can get. It's a crucial part of what makes Astal stand out, contributing significantly to its appeal. Combined with Astal's breathtaking environments, the fusion of these two elements turns a good game into something really memorable and totally unique compared to the growing number of contemporary 3D games at the time. So let's start with the heart of the game, its art. Astal's sprites aren't just pretty pictures slapped onto the screen. They're a masterclass in pixel art perfection, buttery smooth animation, and creative ingenuity. Just look at the vivid pastel colors and the size and fluid motion of these characters. Each sprite is packed with detail. It's like watching an old hand-drawn animated Disney movie or stepping into a living, breathing fantasy painting. Scenery scrolling in the foreground is still impressive to this day. And while the gameplay is slower than in Sonic or even Mario for that matter, it's intentional, and it gives you more time to enjoy the stunning visuals because face it, that's what this game was designed to be, a 2D showcase and a masterclass in what the Saturn is capable of. And while the cutscenes weren't really my thing, they did help progress the story and were also very well done from an art design standpoint. But how were such incredible graphics even possible? Well, the Sega Saturn had some unique hardware architecture that allowed the developers to push 2D graphics to the absolute limit. And unlike the Genesis or Super Nintendo, the Saturn came all guns blazing with two separate video display processors designed to handle sprite rendering and background layers independently. This, along with its 32-bit RISC main processors running in a master-slave configuration, powered millions of colors on screen with dozens of detailed sprites at any given time. This was like the blast processing scene in Sonic the Hedgehog on the Genesis, all jacked up on a roid rage. But in a kind of soothing and magical way. Some particular moments that wowed gamers here include the level Into the Darkness, set in a mystical cave with its multiple layers, and that part where literally hundreds of cyclop bats rush past you, which the Saturn handles with incredible finesse and absolutely no slowdown whatsoever. Or when riding on the back of a sea serpent while traveling across an untamed waterway in the River of Dreams level. The graphics really shine here, and the introduction of this gameplay mechanic made this section of the game something really unforgettable. The Saturn's sprite scaling and rotation was also on full display in the Volcanic Valley level. And I've got to tell you, it was really impressive, the sense of depth and scale of the giant lava balls blasting from the background all the way up to you in the foreground and exploding. Wait, did I just say giant lava balls blasting and exploding? Dear Lord, what have I done? One of the last graphic features that further blew my mind was how the Saturn flexed its muscle with the infinite plane layer drawn by its mighty VDP2. I mean, just check out how it adds to the perspective and creates a 2.5D effect in the Sea of Clouds level, or in the Destiny Unfolds scene. These kinds of innovative graphic effects were just not possible on home consoles with this level of clarity and fidelity before the Saturn.
I can't lose to him! I can't!
So as you can see, Astal's art didn't just stay inside the console. It connected to a broader tradition of fantasy illustration and animation. And you can see the echoes of classic storybook art, anime, and even traditional painting styles in its visuals. And on a personal note, I remember getting lost in the fantasy escapism of these worlds, playing this game in the dark with my bedroom lights turned off. Well, the normal lights, I mean, because even way back in 1995, yours truly was rocking a fluorescent tube black light that made the already vibrant colors of the screen sing with an ultra-saturated pop. Power up! And glow like being at a trippy Berlin rave. And on a completely separate and unrelated note, there was also absolutely no experimentation with any mind-altering, plant medicines of any kind during this experience. Nope. No siree.
Drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs. If you do them, you're bad.
Needless to say, I maybe had a bit too much fun exploring the surreal worlds in Astal, if such a thing is even possible. But Astal is more than just eye candy. It's earned a passionate cult following over the years, partly because of its unique visual style that's unlike anything else on the Saturn or any other platform. Its fantasy-inspired design blends mythical illustration and whimsy, creating a world that feels both epic and really pulls you in. The vibrant colors and detailed backgrounds immerse players in a storybook-like experience. And though it wasn't a blockbuster hit back in the day, Astal's art style influenced many indie developers and artists who see it as a benchmark for handcrafted sprite work. So while this game came out early in the Saturn's lifespan, it was unfortunately ignored and didn't sell very well. But I can say with confidence that those that did take Astal home were blown away and cherished this beautiful example of a fading genre in the mid-90s. Now, while Astal absolutely shines when it comes to graphics and animations, we do have to be honest about the gameplay itself. I mean, it's solid, its controls are responsive, but here's the kicker. It's not exactly innovative. If you've played platformers from the 90s, especially on the Genesis or Super Nintendo, much of Astal will feel very, very familiar. It follows classic platforming tropes: run, jump, attack enemies, and navigate through colorful stages. The stages themselves are also extremely simple and short. Very short. Just too damn short. I'm sorry. It doesn't reinvent the wheel or push gameplay boundaries like Knights with its 3D flying mechanics, or how Sonic the Hedgehog revolutionized speed and momentum. Instead, Astal plays it safe, focusing more on delivering a visually stunning experience than on shaking up the platformer formula. That said, sometimes solid and beautiful is exactly what you want. That's like your favorite comfort food for gamers that just want to get lost in a gorgeous world and enjoy smooth, straightforward gameplay without surprises or too much difficulty. And real quick, if you enjoy this content, I've put a link in the description below of a playlist of all of my other videos that you might also enjoy, including other Saturn classics. So check it out and stick around for a while. In the year since its release, Astal has become a shining example of how video games can be art, not just graphics. It's a reminder that great video game art doesn't need the latest 3D tech, just vision, creativity, and passion. The game is still rightfully celebrated by pixel art enthusiasts and collectors, and it certainly deserves its place in the halls of retro gaming glory. It's a beautifully crafted world, a technical showcase, and a creative triumph all rolled into one. If you've never played Astal, do yourself a favor and dive in. Whether you have a Saturn or use emulation, it's worth experiencing just to see what one of the best fantasy worlds built from pixels really feels like. And if you already love Astal, share your favorite memories in the comments below. Did the art blow your mind? Did you spend hours just watching the background scroll by? Let's celebrate this underappreciated gem together. And if you're new here, I'd like to welcome you to the channel and invite you to subscribe for more feel-good retro gaming content. Alright my friends, this is the Retro Gaming Boss signing out, reminding you to keep your games old school. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.